Okay. So anyway, different people have, been, it's good for people to hold up a mirror to you. A friend of mine once, I was telling him about a diet that was really important, and I kept going on about how great it was, and he stopped me and said, "How much do you weigh?" Those mirrors are good. Other things I was influenced by, one time I was in a Liberty boat. This was a long time ago as well, and the national anthem was 8 o'clock, flag was being raised, it's on the naval base, and the national anthem was being played, and this just two of us in the Liberty boat, besides the coxswain and the bow hook. And anyway, this fellow, he was an African-American man, he raised his fist into the solidarity fist. And it, it irritated me. Now, why did you do that? I believe in freedom and liberty and everything, but that was kind of disrespectful. But nevertheless, I kind of admired the fact that he did it. And it made me start thinking, why did he do it? And, pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious to anybody that thinks about it. But, that's not something that white Americans thought about, or certainly not in my circle. Okay, so let's see. Then I met this college professor. Okay, so this woman was small. She was a tiny woman. She was young looking. I don't know how old she was, but she could probably pass for 20. She was wicked smart and just open and kind and helpful and brave, I thought, because I thought anybody that was that open, just really there, how could anybody do that? Especially a small person, a woman. I just didn't get it. I mean, I admired her. I really admired her. And, she didn't really say anything that necessarily liberated my mind, and I know this is a trope, but, it made me think, women in their situation were often, flirty and manipulative. I'm sorry, but, the same way that men were abusive. And so I don't mean to make that assertion about all women, but this woman seems so totally not. She was not the slightest bit manipulative. She was not the slightest bit that I could tell. She was just open. She was just really, really honest. And I thought, somewhere inside me, I wanted to be that way. Somewhere inside me. So anyway, I hope I didn't get in trouble for that comment. I meant it in the nicest way, as my wife says. So she opened my mind just by her presence. And then I'm going to fast forward to come to this church in the fall of '91, and it was the fall. We weren't open in the summer. And so the service was, women did it, and I have this memory of 7 or 8 women just standing across this same pulpit here, the same dais. And they did something called the Cakes for the Queen of Heaven, they talked about, and they talked about the goddess and the goddesses. And I thought, damn, that's interesting. I need to come here and see what they have to say. I wasn't put off by it, but I was a little startled by it. And so, but it was interesting. So that was a positive thing. And then, okay, here, excuse me. And then, I'm gonna mention a name here now. I met Pac Matthews. I hate to single you out, Pac, but Tim asked me to talk about kind, patient folks who helped liberate my mind. You're a prime example. Pac is brave too, like the woman I was talking about. Way back when, he was talking about primarily, I think, the oppression of women, the oppression of the poor by the well-to-do. we have a lot of oppression that we talk about now, but it seems like that's what he was mainly talking about back then. And although we didn't, I don't think, use the word privilege, he still, what we would say now is he used his privilege to push back against that. He was about, holding up mirrors to to everybody in their prejudices. And he would do it at family gatherings. He would do it to his friends. He would do it in business meetings, or at least that was the impression that I got. And I also encouraged everybody else to. I thought he was holier than thou and pushy, among other things. And I even told him so once, and then we talked about it 20 years later, and he remembered that too. And anyway, I have made my amends then, and I'll make them publicly now. I was wrong, Pac, and I try to be a better person. Anyway, so that was Pac. He was patient with me and very kind. I was a libertarian back then, and I thought mostly that wealthy people were entitled to their wealth and they helped society because of Adam Smith and the invisible hand and everything. But he helped me with that for sure. And he pointed out some of the things about women's place in society and the roles they were committed to by society, and it helped a lot. Thanks, Pac, for your patience and your caring. So finally, many others, some of which are probably out there in Zoom land, have helped me, particularly here in this church. I just want to mention briefly Molly House Gordon and our preacher, and our DRE, Jamila, and they're our employees and our leaders and our servants in the sense, a real beautiful sense, in the Quaker sense of being of service. And I'm grateful for that as well. So I'm going to leave off with my two of my really favorite people, big influences in my adult life. One of them is my wife, Joy, who has helped me to really help me to understand what I do when I puff up and get angry and try to intimidate people. And she would always say, no, this ain't gonna work. And I took it seriously, but boy, it took me a long time to stop. My children suffered from that as well. And she was standing up for them as well as herself. And she certainly helped liberate me. Wasn't fun when she put up boundaries, but it was certainly a loving thing to do. And then finally, I'll leave off with my daughter, who you might know as Mary Kate Denson or Mary Denson, or you might not know her at all, of course. Goes by Izzy M. Wado now. And it's funny. Well, not funny, but odd, I guess, that, but certainly it makes a whole lot of sense that when a man has a daughter, no matter how reactionary or, or conservative, or not unthinking about his beliefs, might be really concerned about how women are treated if one loves their daughter. And since my daughter has always been very vocal and, tells what she thinks, she helped educate me a whole lot, particularly since Ferguson and the whole woke movement. I thought, like a lot of others, that I'm colorblind, I believe in treating everybody right. And then this privilege thing, I thought, oh, I don't want to be privileged. I want, everybody to be treated like I am. So, it's not like, I don't think I have too much. I just let people treat me nice in general. I think we should all be treated nice, so I want everybody to be treated the way I'm treated. I want everybody to have privilege. Well, I didn't understand it, of course. And because when I have my privilege, that not only, that actually keeps other people from having their rights and being treated rightly. I didn't understand that, but a lot of people have helped me with that. Among them, my daughter, who aside from, being really out there with women being treated rightly and women being social force, women being human, I guess. Women are people, that bumper sticker. Feminism is the radical belief that women are people. That impressed me. I, like many others, objectified women. I liked them and they scared me, but I really didn't treat them like people. And for whatever reason, Izzy was really strong about treating not just women, but everybody correct. And, so it's a long, long story, but she helped me see Black Americans as human. Not that I didn't know, and it's not that I didn't, have a real intellectual understanding of it. But she told me stories, real stories, true stories of individuals whom she knew. Other people have done that from the pulpit, actually, and has suggested readings to me. And so my mind, I'm not going to say has been liberating, but my mind is being in the process of being liberated. I'll never be through, but I'm more okay with it. I'm braver than I used to be. I'm still afraid, but I'm braver than I used to be, and I owe it to these people who have been mostly kind and patient. Thank you for your patience.
Our first reading comes from Long Walk to Freedom, the autobiography of Nelson Mandela by Nelson Mandela. I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way, but I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended. Our second reading is by the Reverend Matthew Johnson, who serves the Unitarian Universalist Church of Rockford, Illinois. I want to say to all those who would close the door, who would be guided by fear instead of hope, who would clutch in scarcity rather than live generously, who would say, no, you can't come here. I want to say, how dare you? For the Lord your God is God of gods, the Lord of lords, mighty and awesome, who is not partial and takes no bribe, and who executes justice for the orphan and the widow, and who loves the stranger, providing them with food and clothing. You shall also love the stranger, for you were strangers once too. How dare you? Listen to the voices, see the faces, open your heart. Lest the tears of the holy drown us all, may we be summoned to a higher calling, one of faithfulness and hospitality and open-hearted love, the best of us and not the worst. Both impulses are in our history and in our present, that colonizing and the nativist, the supremacist, that's part of our history. The part that says difference is scary and there isn't enough, and so it's just for us. That is part of who we are, we who live here in this land. But it's only part of our history and only part of our mythos, our story about ourselves. Another part of our story is the welcome, the table open, the door open, the heart open. The embrace of variety and diversity is quintessentially American. The land of freedom, regardless of origin or color or faith, the affirmation that there is plenty, there's enough, come and be welcome. That is another part of our story. When you give thanks this week, give thanks for the best of our story. Give thanks for those who made the journeys of time and space and journeys of the heart, including yourself. Give thanks that there is plenty. Give thanks for hope and love and possibility. Give thanks for love, which, despite what you may see on the news, is stronger in the end than hate. Give thanks, and from that place of gratitude, open your heart, open your door, be a living witness of the spirit of hospitality. In joyful thanksgiving, whose bounty we share, come and go with me. Take one more step. When bound to human care and hope, then we are free. In the awareness of the truth of our own stories, our own contingencies and fragility, our own need to be welcomed, we can see in the faces of one another, we can hear in the voices of one another the core of humanity, our siblings, our family, our neighbors, and say, come, come, whoever you are welcome here. It is my prayer this morning that we heed the words etched on that statue, that we have a country where those words apply to everyone, not just some, where our hearts are open and our door stands ajar. As the poet wrote, not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuge of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. And may it be, and may we make it so. Here ends the reading.
Wow, what a compelling and moving song that is. First, I want to start off by thanking both Scott Denson for his vulnerability that he shared with us this morning. I truly appreciate it. Such great words for us to listen to and to ponder and think about. And it was so great to see Rebecca Graves back in the pulpit. I always enjoyed her when she was a worship associate. So I did that selfishly, I'm not going to lie. Until we are all free, we are none of us free. Emma Lazarus. No one is free until we are all free. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. These quotes weigh heavy on my heart and mind and often have me even questioning whether I'm fully living up to our UU principles. In preparing for today's service, I was searching for readings and songs to intertwine within the message and was immediately drawn to the Reverend Tarasa I. Soto's "To the People Who Have Mistaken Freedom for Liberation." I really feel Reverend Soto eloquently captures the essence of our Unitarian Universalist first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, as well as our seventh principle, respect the interdependent web of all existence which we are a part. Struggling with how to organize all these thoughts and questions I had in my head about freedom for all, I found Reverend Soto's words helped to ground me, to guide me, to stir my soul, and, well, to frankly manage the many ideas I had racing around in my head. Reverend Soto beckons us first to see and acknowledge our own inherent worth and dignity as we do the work of freedom for all those with these words. To be free, you must embrace the breath of your own existence without apology, even if they try to take it from you. I'm not sure about all of you, but every time I've heard or read or even thought about our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, my gaze immediately extends outwards to all of those that are the most severely affected by the oppressive system of white supremacy. Then my focus widens and I think about all of you in our beloved community. And finally, I extend that circle even wider, even further, to think about everyone in the city, county, state, country, and global community. I even contemplate how I can see the inherent worth and dignity in all those out there that either unknowingly or even knowingly continue to buy into the system and, frankly, a religion of hate and oppression. This system is not only robbing everyone of truly being the best human being they can be, but even worse, it represses, oppresses, and oftentimes denies people from being recognized as the humans they truly are. After my gaze widened to include all 7,794,798,738 other humans on this earth, I never once considered my own inherent worth and dignity until reading Dr. Soto's words, Reverend Soto's words. I too am part of the every person in our first principle, and so are each and every one of us. So let's not forget to also include ourselves as we do the work of invoking this principle in our lives. Reverend Soto reminds us that to help others be free, we must free ourselves first and not let anyone else take that freedom from us. We hear the same thing in Bob Marley's song, Redemption Song, when he pleads to his listeners to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. These powers of oppression want us to feel powerless with their atomic energy, and they want us to feel as if our individual and even our collective voices are small and unimportant, and that they will never move us towards our beloved community. But have no fear, because none of these oppressive powers can stop time. So keep believing in yourself and others, and know we can all work towards redemption and freedom together, even when it feels as if we do not progress as fast as we wish. Reverend Soto also calls us to be mindful of our interconnectedness, which is our seventh principle: respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, not only with one another as of our human race, but the entire group of inhabitants of this planet, as well as the planet herself. Reverend Soto says, "You must know, not that you can do whatever you want. You are not a kudzu vine eating entire hillsides for the purpose of feeding your own lush life." When we hurt and oppress others, even if it's unknowingly and unintentional, we are causing so much damage, not only to the inherent worth and dignity of the person we harmed, which should be enough for us to truly contemplate to change so that our lives are more in line with our principles, but also ourselves, as well as our beloved community. And when we ignore these signs or blow them off as not important or take them personally, even when they're frank criticisms of us doing any harm, our reaction should never be to continue doing what we're doing and suffocating the entire hillsides. This is a time for us to recede back and let the hillsides breathe and teach us what is needed. Then maybe we can coexist with the hillside, and each of us will not unknowingly be toxic as to suffocate and oppress it. We are all part of a culture that strives on racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, classism, and ableism. Instead of getting offended when someone says you have caused harm, know that this is an act of redemption. We should instead take time to reflect on how we can do better. We heard that with Scott this morning. When those with less privilege call out our privilege, know that they do not do this to cause us harm, but are rather offering us a chance for growth and expansion. And we can all be very thankful for that. When we are given the keys to think differently and see people for who they truly are, a weight is lifted for us all as we practice our principles and see one another's inherent worth and dignity. Let's take this opportunity to grow, learn, and free ourselves from the deep roots that white supremacy culture has burrowed into our beings and minds. We cannot believe that once we are aware of the oppressive nature of the society, that we are completely changed and woke and know all there is to be known. This stuff is so deeply ingrained in each and every one of us that we must always be willing to grow, since we are all more than likely going to do things that we do not see as harmful. And if we truly see the inherent worth and dignity in everyone, we must take some time to reflect on our actions and see what we can do to not be toxic to others in the future. Just because we want to be radically welcoming doesn't mean we know the perfect way to do so. We must continue to strive to do better, to be more inclusive, because as Reverend Soto says, you must know instead that inside you are universes, milky, blue, magenta, and gold, expanding. We all should be expanding. We are these beautiful, magnificent universes that grow and expand. If we limit our expansion, we are letting the oppressive culture win, and we do not move forward. So please continue to let your milky blue, magenta, and gold universes expand. But know that as our universes expand, we must continue doing the work of anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-homophobic, anti-transphobic, anti-ableism, anti-classism, and any other atrocious act that denies our beloved siblings of their brilliant universes. It is here that Reverend Soto reminds us that our interconnectedness requires us to always stand up for the other awesome, brilliant, and stellar universes that belong in everyone else when they make this statement. But to actually be free, you must know and you must fight for the entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise. Reverend Soto reminds us that there's more to this freedom for all than just fighting for the other universes, and we should still continue to do that. But we must also know these universes. We have to know them as well. We must acknowledge them and listen to them and learn from them. We are also reminded that freedom does not come without responsibility. It is rather a promise that we make to our own universes, as well as all the universes and each and every one else. We must continue to reach out and know that because of hatred that thrives in our culture, those milky blue, magenta, and gold universes may have been heartbreakingly told over and over again that some universes do not matter, or that they simply are too fearful to let their own awesome universes be brilliant colors that they truly are. I have to say, what a blessing it is to have Reverend Dr. Dawson leading us in ministry this summer. Please know that you, Dr. Dawson, have impacted my life, and I am deeply thankful for your words of encouragement and wise counsel. I am thankful for the prophetic words you shared with us in your June and July blogs at the uucomo.org. Thank you for challenging and encouraging us, as you say, to commit to an action plan of progressive evangelism. I even had a hard time saying it. I'm going to go ahead and share a link to both of those blogs in the chat. So please make sure that you take some time to read those as well. I am going to quote a little bit from a couple of his from his July blog. And in his July blog, the Reverend Dr. Dawson writes, I wrote about this in the last newsletter, but I want to re-emphasize the concept. As a congregation, you have everything you need to numerically grow. You have a minister who can preach and is a gifted administrator. You have a board of trustees that is responsible and handles business with transparency. Your staff is excellent and committed to the success of this church. You have a history of justice. There are many people who will want to join this fellowship if you commit to attracting them. Respectfully, let me remind you that this is not the responsibility of the minister to grow a congregation. The minister's role, and this is key, this is really key, the minister's role is to equip you to grow the congregation. From the Black church motto, shepherds don't make sheep, sheep make sheep, your calling is to make members, and your task is to tell your story as a UU member. Your story will grow your church. Further down in this blog, Dr. Dawson writes the following about allowing your passion to unite with your intellect. Thus, I encourage you to bring both head and heart, all you do in the life of this congregation. Sing like you mean it sing like you mean what you say. Give Reverend Molly or the lay leader an amen sometime. Greet visitors with enthusiasm. Do your individual ministries with all the passion of your heart. I share with you that the things that come from the heart reach the heart of others. Give your all and do not be ashamed to feel the faith you claim. Wow. Such prolific and prophetic words that Dr. Dawson has so genuinely charged us to heed. I encourage all of us to contemplate these words and take them to heart and put them in action. In putting the service together, I really struggled with exactly what to write. I wondered over and over, and to be quite honest, still do wonder, is any of this making sense? Will it actually be impactful? Or will I inadvertently say the wrong thing and cause harm? Or worse, not even discuss a subject matter that really needs to be addressed? I know that I'm a product of a society and culture that favors individuals that look like and love like me. And I genuinely do not want to continue to perpetuate these systems of oppression in my life, the communities I engage and connect with, or the world at large. And by not saying anything at all, I give into this hateful system of oppression, becoming culpable and giving it exactly what it wants, suffocating that hillside. And the thing is that I know these thoughts of doubt are just white supremacy digging in and clenching onto me like a tick latched onto my skin. And yet I still buy into it. I still give it a place to exist in my awesome, amazing universes. This is why it is so very important for all of us to really see our own inherent worth and dignity, so that when we find ourselves not really enacting our principles, we stop and take time to give ourselves grace while still holding ourselves accountable, thus enabling us to make the impactful change that gets us back on track, back to truly living our covenantal principles, and as Ben Harper says in his song, not succumbing to the oppression around us. And I quote from his song, "Oppression, I won't let you near me. Oppression, you shall learn to fear me. Oppression, I won't let you near me. Oppression, you shall fear me. Let us be warriors against oppression, no matter where it exists. Even if it's in our own heads. What happens when we let oppression dictate that we should, what happens when we let oppression dictate that we should say nothing at all? What happens if we do not take to heart and heed the sage advice of a wise Black theist who loves us and wants us to live more fruitfully in our principles? I realize that as a tradition, we are not a church that believes in evangelism. But are we? Didn't some of our fellow UUs march with our Black siblings in the civil rights era? Aren't some of us still marching loudly today to proclaim that Black lives do matter? Aren't we evangelizing for communal sanctuary for refugees seeking safety in our country? Aren't we always evangelizing for our siblings in the LGBTQIA+ community? Aren't we standing up against all forms of oppression? Then why is it so hard to sometimes invite family and friends or anyone we feel would gain and give to our beloved community? I admit, I struggle with this question a lot. Quinn Christopherson, who you heard perform his 2 songs prior to me starting this morning's sermon, is the winner of the NPR's 2019 Tiny Desk Concert Contest. In the first song, Glenn, you heard Quinn describe his enduring relationship with his dad, in which he states how they are 2 peas in a pod and how Quinn looks just like his dad. In the second song, Erase Me, Quinn honestly reflects as he takes a closer look at his transition and his newfound privilege he has now as a man, as for so many years of being, sorry, I'll get this right, honestly reflects as he takes a closer look at his transition and his newfound privilege he now has as a man, after so many years of being, as he called it, being used to pulling the short stick as a woman. When I first listened to this session on NPR, I was immediately drawn to Quinn's ability to bare his soul and really get a glimpse into his beautiful, ever-expanding universes, all while playing some amazing and moving tunes. His authenticity and genuineness are beyond impressive. Every time I hear Quinn sing about his dad, I tear up, especially when he sings about how one day maybe he'll settle down and have a kid. And that kid too will tell their friends of their awesome dad that plays guitar and says he knows more than he can do and tells them they can do more than they know. I recently watched a TED Talk where Quinn talked about music and how it helped him cope with his trauma and resentment he felt growing up with a drug-addicted mother. He talks about how at first he used alcohol to deal with this trauma by drinking from morning till night. Then one day he took a big step, which included being sober all day, but still ended up drinking at night so that he could go to bed. When Quinn finally committed to being sober, he turned to music as a means to understand himself and all that he was going through. After numbing his feelings for so long, he did not know what to do with his resentment once he started allowing himself to feel again. So he began to write very honest but very angry songs about his mom, playing them show after show. After his mom also became sober, she started to come to Quinn's concerts and heard him play these songs about her. Seeing his mother punishing herself by listening to his lyrics about her, Quinn felt selfish. He realized that she was human and that she too had suffered a lot and had a lot of trauma long before she inflicted any trauma onto him. So Quinn decided to write another song about his mom And this time, she was no longer the villain, but rather she was simply a human that was hurting and had been hurt herself long before she hurt Quinn. So with this story of Quinn's healing in our minds, I'll ask the question I most struggle with. What does freedom for all mean when we apply it to those knowingly and unknowingly causing harm to so many people in this world? How do we reconcile to see their inherent worth and dignity for all those that refuse to acknowledge the unique inherent worth and dignity in others? If we were to take a look at Quinn as an example, we would realize that we are all humans, that we are all held bondage by the sweet, sickening lies of this system of oppression. Maybe if we reach out with genuine dialogue to those still under the spell of white supremacy, all the while still remembering their inherent worth and dignity, maybe, just maybe through our conversations, they too will begin to see their beautiful universes in themselves. And then maybe in turn, maybe, they'll begin to see and know and fight for those who do not have the same privileges and freedoms as they do. And then maybe, hopefully, just maybe, one day we can all truly be free.